Hello, hello, Linda from Barlates Body Blitz. Here's little Minnie having a light refreshment. Today we're doing another walk and talk. 20 odd minutes, approximately, I would say 2,500 to 3,000 steps. And definitely a walk and talk, so if you prefer just to listen to music while you're exercising, head on over to my channel and choose one that does not have walk and talk in the title. We're going to be switching up exercises every 60 seconds, but if you prefer to just walk in place or walk around the room, then definitely keep doing that while I do all different easy to follow stepping exercises. We're also going to be chatting today a little bit about our thoughts and also how to, let's go knees while we talk about what we're going to talk about, and also how to balance out our thinking and processing emotions. So if you have been following my walk and talk sessions in chronological order, the last few I've been talking about how our thoughts can drive how we feel, which then in turn can drive our actions. And because we often think the same thoughts, in fact, neurologists have said that up to 90% of our thoughts are the same as yesterday. So because our thoughts are so similar every single day, it means that if we have a negative spiral, a negative thought pattern, it can put us in a bad mood for sometimes a very long time. Let's go side lunge, tap and tap. Side lunge, tap and tap. So it is so important to be able to catch those negative thoughts before they become beliefs, thoughts that we think over time, over and over, become beliefs about life. And sometimes those beliefs may not be serving us at all. So by being able to catch a negative thought before it really gains momentum, you can stop a lot of heartache in your life, a lot of suffering in your life. But having said that, you have to still process the emotions and the reasons why you are having those negative thoughts. So let's go the other way. Sometimes it may simply be something really small and insignificant, like someone cuts you off in traffic, or someone is rude to you, or whatever it is. And that may not necessarily need any type of processing. There might not be anything behind that whatsoever. It simply is an annoyance. And then sometimes, because of something that I was talking about in my last walk and talk, we get this thing called confirmation bias, or even you could call it like a tunnel vision, that when something negative happens, all of a sudden, all of these other negative things happen because our mindset is already kind of geared towards negativity for that day. So if you've ever had one of those days where one thing seems to go wrong after another, literally, then you know what I mean. Across, 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 up and down. Across, 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 up and down. So 3 across, 2, 3, up and down. So in those cases, there really may be nothing to process. But there are other times when you will find something really bothers you and you have an overly dramatic or out of proportion response to it. It might be something someone said. It might be something someone did. It might be something that you have no idea why it's bothering you so much. And those are the type of thoughts and emotions that probably will need processing, because usually they come from something else in your past. So now we're going to go down, up, curtsy, up, down, up, curtsy, other side. So if that is the case, then you might need to stop for a minute, and if you can find a safe space at the time to do this, then great. But you might not be able to do that. You might need to let go of that negative emotion, do something like some deep breathing, do something like thinking about joyful things, changing your nervous system, maybe dancing around the living room, but putting those emotions on the shelf to deal with at a time when you really have a safe space to do so. Okay, so we're going to go 2 across, knee and knee, 2 across, knee and knee. Now it doesn't matter what you do with the arms, you can kind of keep them more loose like this, knee and knee, but I want you to be down in like a little squat walk. So we're really hitting up through the thighs. And then when you do have a moment to yourself, just ask yourself simple questions like, why did I get so triggered when so-and-so said this? Or when I felt this feeling or this emotion? Or in this circumstance? Ask yourself, why did I get so triggered? It seems out of proportion to what actually just happened. And often, not always, sometimes it takes some digging, often a little thought might emerge. Let's go 1, 2, 1, 2, staying on one side. So it's a knee and knee, tap, out and out. Knee and knee, tap, out and out. So if you are able to identify it, where that initially came in, that thought, maybe it reminds you of something that happened to you in childhood, for example, then you can perhaps reframe it as an adult and kind of go, okay, this happened when I was a kid and I wasn't in control. It wasn't something I could control at the time. So I built in these coping mechanisms that don't really serve me anymore as an adult. And you can start to really almost counsel yourself, be your own therapist, and tell yourself you don't, other side, knee and knee, out and out. It might take a few to kind of get this in a good pattern. And don't worry if you're not doing it exactly like me. And don't worry if you do each one slightly different than the rest. Out, out. Yeah, you might be able to then be that adult that you would have needed as a child in that circumstance to be able to process that in a way that would be more helpful and that doesn't leave you feeling triggered and emotional and like you have to react rather than be able to act. So reacting to a situation rather than acting purposefully when something happens. I've got to stop talking for a second because I keep messing it up. Sorry guys. Out and out. Okay, let's go. Side lunge, tap, leg raise. If you want to hinge forward and flat back, tummy's in, touch the ground, leg raise, side lunge, leg raise. So yeah, being the adult in that situation to your inner child who perhaps still feels wounded, still feels inadequate to be able to deal with certain circumstances, that is a whole way of, they call it doing shadow work or healing your inner child. It's a whole way of dealing with childhood trauma. And I'm not going to go into it too deeply here today. I just wanted to touch on it because I didn't want it to sound like I meant you're supposed to be happy all the time and you're not supposed to deal with stuff, because that's definitely not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, for those thoughts other side, for those thoughts that really are just negative little thoughts that kind of come in for no real reason, allowing them to just pass through your mind and not giving them momentum by adding to them, adding stories to them. Those are the ones that you can just let go, shift your mood and move on. But when there are things that come up time and time again, maybe with particular relationships, someone at work, whatever the circumstance, those things are definitely not to be ignored. So if something repeats itself over and over, it's definitely something within you that is crying out to be seen and to be dealt with. And there are definitely many ways that you can deal with those things. And in some of my other videos, I've talked about that, but definitely seeing a therapist is, let's prance in place and just punch up and down. Seeing a therapist who is trained to help with these childhood traumas is definitely recommended, because doing it yourself can actually be pretty difficult. And because you see everything from a certain perspective, because you are you, and you look at life depending on how you were brought up, depending on, whatever circumstances and beliefs you created in your life from those circumstances. It's hard sometimes to see your own blind spots, and that's where therapy can really help. And now it's so much better than it used to be. There's not this stigma surrounding it anymore. People are actually quite open about mental health issues, about things like childhood trauma, and just the fact, let's go side and up, sidestep and up. Just the fact that so many people are speaking out about it online is just so helpful, and it's lifting this whole stereotype that you're weak or something if you need therapy. The fact is, as I always say, you have to live with yourself, and you want to be fun to live with, for yourself as well as for others. You cannot possibly be fun to live with if you are constantly triggered and you need everything around you to be a certain way in order for you to be happy. If you are able to deal with some of the coping mechanisms that you set up as a child that are not serving you anymore, and can be much more active, have more agency in your life when things happen that may not be favorable, then you're going to be, let's go step and pull, step and pull. Then you're going to be so much more fun for yourself and for others to be around, right? It's like Dr. Phil. I'm sure you guys know who Dr. Phil is. I used to watch him back in the day. And he used to say, how much fun are you to be around? And that's kind of a really good measure. You want to be fun to be around. Because if you're fun for others to be around, you're actually fun for yourself to be around. So therapy is definitely a good thing, and I have seen it work wonders for people in my life in short periods of time. It doesn't have to be this long, dragged out thing. It literally can be 6 months or a year. You have some realizations that you could not come to yourself, and all of a sudden, everything changes. Other side, step and knee, step and knee. Now, the other part of the whole looking at childhood traumas, or when you're triggered, trying to figure out where that comes from, and not just pushing negative emotions under the carpet when they're trying to signal something to you. The other part of that is allowing yourself to feel emotions. So, I'm not going to go into a big long story, but for many years, I was part of a really strict, dogmatic church group. And they thought they were doing the right thing by being really, really strict about following everything that the Bible taught. And they based their entire life and doctrine on it. And as a result, there used to be these sessions. Let's go side to side, one center. Side to side, one center. There used to be all these sessions where I would meet up with an older lady, usually from the church group, and it would kind of be an appraisal, let's call it an appraisal, of where I was at in comparison to Jesus. So in that given week, how did I handle life? Was I loving? Was I sinless? Was I, X, Y, Z? All these criteria that I had to be grilled about, and then given kind of homework as to what on my character I had to work at that week in order to be more Christ-like. Now, I'm not going to knock Christianity or anything like that. Let's go side, side, knee, knee. I'm just talking personally about my experience with a very strict kind of cult-like version of Christianity. And for me, that meant I learned very easily, and not easily, I was a good Christian, let's just say. I was very good at following rules. It's just part of my personality, I guess, to follow rules and want to be good at something. So I learned how to suppress my emotions. And basically, that meant suppressing all the negative, which I thought was great, was Christ-like, but it also meant suppressing all the positive, because you can't really suppress one without suppressing the other. Because what suppressing your emotions is actually, let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. What suppressing your emotions is suppressing your personality. Okay, this one's actually a little bit fast. I don't know if I'm going to be able to talk to you while I do this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I suppressed so much of my personality that nothing really affected me, good or bad. I didn't have very heightened highs, and I didn't have hardly any lows. And I remember one time someone asked me in the group, what's your love language? We were studying that love languages book, 3, 4, and I honestly couldn't think of anything. I honestly couldn't think of what made me feel loved. In fact, I honestly couldn't even feel what it meant. I couldn't kind of fathom what does it mean to feel loved, because I had locked myself off so much from feeling that I didn't even know how to connect with that inside of me. I felt like I was above feelings. The only thing that kept my heart open was Minnie. She was the only reason why I didn't completely shut off, because I loved her so much that I was still able to love an animal. But in terms of loving myself, in terms of loving others, it seemed so far removed. It was almost like a foreign concept, because I had pushed down my emotions for so many years. So then, I'm not going to go into the story, but basically I left that entire toxic environment. And I had to learn to navigate. Let's go side, side. Let's just bend into it. I had to learn to navigate my emotions in a whole new way. Not controlled by a book or by people around me, but learning to be okay with having them in the first place. Learning to be okay with feeling anger. All those years, I suppressed feeling anger because I thought it was so sinful. So it led me on this journey, and it's been 5 years now, where I went from one extreme to feeling nothing to the opposite extreme of feeling everything and not being able to even control my emotions, to now finding a balance, finding kind of that even keel. And the reason I was able to get to this point is because through the journey of getting sick, out and out, so arms up in an O and then big jack arms. Through the journey of getting sick and not being able to do much, I had so much time to just spend introspective, looking at myself and why I did the things I did, why things triggered me, and I found myself. Underneath all those layers, I found the true me, and I learned how to accept myself and love myself. And through that journey, I was able to not be so erratic and dramatic about my emotions. I was able to start regulating them and realizing where things came from and working on healing my inner child whenever I felt, let's go side, side, front and front. Let's go up and down with those arms, little bop. This is meant to be the last interval. So you're going to be like, oh my God, no, don't stop the story. The story's just getting good. Don't worry, I'll continue next time. But basically, a mini one's out. I was able to start healing my inner child from childhood traumas, but also traumas when I was a teenager, traumas when I was part of that church group, all these traumas that caused me to act and react, in a certain way. I was able to start healing them. And I still have a long way to go, but in the meantime, I'm working on it, guys, and I'm sharing it with you because it's transformed my life. For the first time, I actually feel like I know who I am. I feel like I don't need to please people around me. Let's just walk in place, deep breaths. And I feel like I have the tools and the empowerment and the agency to, when things come up that are a little bit out of control, that are a little bit left field, I'm able to actually come in and heal those areas. Not overly quickly and not always straight away, and sometimes it's messy and 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, but I have tools now and I feel so much more at peace in my day-to-day life. And this is what I want to share with you guys. And I'm sorry if it's a little bit messy at times. I'm sorry if I kind of talk over myself and repeat myself and all of those things, because exercising, trying to kind of cue that exercise, keeping to a time limit and talking without a script, just off the top of my head, is actually quite hard. So bear with me. My intentions are good and I really hope you got something out of today. Please comment below. I'm going to continue with this topic next walk because I feel it's so important to talk about processing emotions and what emotions are, because they are such a massive part of our everyday. And if you don't learn to get, not a control, but if you don't learn to use or if you don't learn to channel the emotions in a more beneficial and positive way, they can really ruin your life. Yeah? So that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for walking and talking with me, and I will see you again very soon. Bye for now.